Hello and welcome back. We're here for Canlander versus, and with the slight hiatus, James is back commentating with us. I've been inundated with requests from all of your fans, James, that you must be on comms for the next one. I had Gary Barlow write in. He's sang a song for you. I want you back for good. None of these are the commentators.
Okay, I'm impressed. Please don't feel any need to play that recording though.
No?
No one needs to hear that, so
What?
it's fine.
Yeah. What? You don't want to hear Gary Barlow singing your name?
I'm pretty open musically. You know, whatever you like is good by you. But no, I'm fine without that.
Okay.
On
All
a
right. All right.
personal
We'll
level.
leave it. We'll leave it. I'll just leave it in the back pocket then.
However,
Today.
nice to be back.
Today we have Ed playing Dimir Reanimator and an absolute legend on the right playing Mardu Horde.
Oh, I've heard bad things about him. I wouldn't call him that. But...
All right. Okay. Well, he's all right anyway.
Okay.
My Mardu Horde list is brand new, so I'm probably going to play this sketchily and slowly as I try to figure out how to navigate a new deck. It shows the impact that you guys have had on me, James, that I've already built a second deck.
Yeah.
But the way that I've built this, I wanted to build something that nobody else was playing in the meta. Mardu seems underrepresented. I didn't want to add more blue decks in with counter spells and stuff. And this is an aggro list that's token slanted, but it's not all in on tokens. It's mostly just like good aggro cards in the Mardu colours.
Nice.
But that's the plan. My points are Mox Ruby, Mox Pearl, Urza Saga, White Plume Adventurer, 4th Aerolingus, and Reanimate. And Reanimate is something that I'm planning on doing against Ed.
And that's a nice widespread, so I'm sure Henry will be really proud of you.
Yes, yeah. Yep.
Ed's on a Dimir Reanimator list, as you just said. The game plan is pretty obvious based on the name of it, so I won't delve too much into that. Loot some things away, entomb some things away, bring them back, try and kill you with massive things on unfair turns. Points pretty standard. There's been some tweaks. Obviously, Reanimate being a new point and Psychic Frog being a point, so had to be some cuts from Ed's deck to kind of make that work. So his spread right now is 5 points of spread across tutors for Demonic and Vampiric that get you anything, another point for a Mystical Tutor, and then 1 point further for Intuition, Reanimate, Imperial Seal, and Psychic Frog. So basically, tutors and a couple of really busted cards, and the namesake card. So all makes sense for this kind of combo control-y vibe that Reanimator is kind of going for.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It is a combo deck, and we're seeing part one of said combo happening on turn one.
Yes.
The cycling of that troll. It's so annoying because one of the reasons I kept my opening hand is because I've got Reanimate in hand at this point.
Yep. Nice.
So I'm just like, please don't have reanimation for this troll on turn two, because there's obviously the issue with troll and cycling it on my end step is I can't get it myself.
You don't have the priority, yeah. So it's just gonna see if, and he's got 2 mana. He's got obviously a greater variety of spells to do it with. So it could be all kinds of things. It could be persisting or deafing.
Yeah,
deafing.
We're deathing.
That's the right way of phrasing it. Deafing. Which is just Reanimate, but it costs more mana.
Yep.
Which I always think is I love Life Death just for that, for the simplicity of it. I don't think I've literally ever seen anyone cast Life in my entire life. But yeah, this is exactly what you didn't want to see, right?
Yup.
At least it's not as super terrifying. It wasn't like instant speed discard Atraxa, turn 2 Reanimate Atraxa. So there's like some balance there.
It's true. This card basically is unblockable to start with. I can spew out guys, but I can't remember exactly what was in my hand, but I know it was slow, and I only kept it because of the possibility of reanimating against the Reanimator deck.
Yeah. But you also have the joy now, you've added white. I mean, you already had black removal, but just adding white makes it so much more efficient for things like swords and path and stuff like that to get rid of. So, but you just got a good old-fashioned black removal spell for it. So it's nice.
Yep.
So just that, this having just answer is a good way to kind of deal with Reanimator. The key thing is just then being able to do something yourself afterwards.
That's the difficult bit of the I think is the difficult bit of the hand, or even just how early that troll came out was just I've got to deal with that, and on turn two having having nothing with an aggro deck is kind of disappointing.
Yes, you still are. I imagine this deck is a bit less aggressive than your mono black one,
Yeah, I
but
think
still
that's
wants
true.
the curving.
It's
Yeah.
quite different. It's quite different. But yeah, it was the first event playing it. This was round 4, so I'd had a little bit of experience at this point.
Yes.
Um,
Although, to be fair, based on the last video we put up, I understand some of that experience is watching Henry play with himself for half an hour.
yes, it was. Yep, that was one of my experiences. I also played against hard control in Azorius control, and
Right.
got a draw against an Abzan Depths deck, Hazel's Abzan
Okay.
Depths. So
Right. A bit of a spread then.
it was a real spread, but I was learning, so.
That's fair. That's fair. And at least nothing too scary to follow up on turn 2. The Slimer featuring on Careful Study Art was not something I knew was going to be in my future, but there it is. And nothing too terrifying here to fill it up with, although there is a Murktide being pulled to the front now, which is pretty
Yeah,
scary.
so
Yep.
the weird thing, I remember thinking at this point, we've not discarded any creatures here. Like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But Murktide was not on my radar.
No. But you do at least still get to steal this troll now.
Yes. We
Oh,
don't.
you won't. Actually, no. But theoretically, you would at least get to
It
steal
could have
this troll now.
happened. It could have happened.
And another infinite sorcery in there for the Murktide is good from Ed's point of view as well.
This was
A bit awkward in the mana base, but
a
yeah.
weird decision as well of, like, do I just waste this Underground Sea? Considering I'm not doing anything with it. And so I
Yeah.
paused for a little bit, just thinking, is this putting me back too far? But with nothing in the bin from Ed, I figured there's not going to be like 1 or 2 mana removal spells now.
Yeah.
Sorry, reanimate spells. So
Yeah.
I think we'll just slow him down. And that was all of the things that were going through my head in this whole time of me just sitting there with a wasteland, figuring out what to do.
And right now that looks correct, right? Because currently can't play a Murktide Regent, which
Yep.
he's got in his hand. So that ended up pretty good. And this does look like it's already slowing down to a bit of a grind. That is a hand though. You can't cast, but you can cast lots of it, but you can't cast lots of it very quickly. So there's like a good representation of like some answers, some threats, but not too much of anything. So this does look like we might be sitting in for a grindy one, unless Ed just suddenly go, oh, there's an Archon in my bin. Oops, now it's on the battlefield.
Yes.
But the dress is nice.
Nothing really happening quickly, and Ed does miss that land drop. So I'm feeling pretty darn good about that wasteland decision.
Yeah. And now I suppose you've got to make the decision about whether you want to start. Although the land drop's nice, because then you can maybe hold up. You can either duress and put some pressure on to see what the hand is, which is what you do. Unfortunate miss, but still, like Bolt, not super relevant against Ed as a card. So you can understand leading with that as the 1 mana, and then presumably Stone Forging or whatever the one is that makes some tokens. I can't remember what it's called.
Raise
now.
the alarm.
That's it. Yep. I just like how the way this is paused. I'm trying to decide which one of these I'm going to discard.
No.
Well, kind of either of them. What shall I do?
This is just too many things going through my head, and it's about what to do next. Essentially, this is a case of, I know that there's no counter spells in your hand. So do I just cast this raise the alarm now rather than waiting?
Yeah. And the Stoneforge is nice as well, because I imagine you're playing Skull Clamp, which is good with all of your tokens, right? So if you are like suddenly stonewalled by something that isn't going to immediately murder you, you can at least kind of dig out with these combinations of cards.
So Stoneforge is the one that he made me discard.
Oh, is that the one you?
Yeah. So I don't have access to that one.
That's a shame.
But yeah, I would have certainly played the Stoneforge.
Yeah, that's fair.
We have 2 white not human, white soldier creature tokens. Important, considering somebody's in my deck that cares about humans and non-humans. Good old.
Someone's in your hand that cares about humans and non-humans.
Good old Winona Ryder.
Oh, you're playing the Winona package. That's cool. Yeah, cool. There is some like interesting tension there, because obviously, like we saw Aemir in your hand, and he cares about humans, and there is some a chunk of red-white stuff, especially from Lord of the Rings, which was obviously the card art you've chosen for your deck. Quite a powerful addition to kind of some of the aggro decks, but they had a fair bit of human synergy there.
Yeah, so I haven't really like built around Winota, sorry. She just looks exactly like Winona Ryder as far as I'm concerned on the art.
I have not looked at that card recently enough to judge. But
okay. If you've watched Beetlejuice, it looks like her from straight out of Beetlejuice.
What, OG or new?
OG probably.
Okay, fair.
Because I don't think I've seen the new one. But yeah, actually, Aoma being stuck in my hand at this point, I think this was the last straw for me. I think Aoma, I decided at this point I'm taking Aoma out of the deck.
Yeah? Just not efficient enough.
I think so. I'd in too many times had it stuck in my hand, so. I do get hit by a big regent.
Yeah, this is a big regent. That's a 2-turn clock. Well, now it's a 1-turn clock. When it started, it was a 2-turn clock. And Spellseeker, yeah, is dead, but Spellseeker can theoretically get some protection here as well. Like, I'm not quite sure what. I think Ed's got 1 mana up, right? Yeah, so.
Yeah, there's only 1 mana.
Pulling DT to the front, but I feel like you just pick Vampiric at this stage because you could cast that on end step if you wanted to go for a tutor. Maybe even Imperial Seal, I guess, which Vampiric just seems more efficient. So I suspect it's either that for complete freedom and answer, or if there is an answer that he as thinks would be really good, Spell Pierce maybe, although a lot of your removal is probably going to be 1 or 2 mana for this dragon if you've got it at all. So Spell Pierce maybe not great, but that type of vibe,
I think the decision here is: do I protect this Murktide Regent that is going to win if I manage to protect it? Or do I not have the protection for it, and do I just go for, well, if Nathan removes it, then I'll get a tutor to be able to do some other broken thing and get set up again.
Yeah. Interesting decision point.
It very much depends on whether you've got protection in the deck to deal with whatever I do.
Yeah, the obvious stuff is counter spells, but again, most of the counter spells that would be relevant aren't. Spell Pierce probably won't do it, not knowing the entirety of your deck list, but obviously you can't get stuff. You can't get the forces. And there's not loads of counter spells on Ed's deck. So I'd imagine it's probably either he's got that one doesn't seem like a great shout because you can very easily play around that.
So I looked at that and went, yeah, okay, that's fine. But unfortunately, I believe
he realizes
Ed then realizes, hold up, this doesn't do what I want it to do.
Yep, that makes a bit more sense.
This is a little bit frustrating as well because I've got nothing in my hand that helps me here. I just need to wait to look at the top card of my deck to see whether I'm dead or not.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it almost, from your point of view, is like what your decision points don't matter, Ed. It's the top of my deck that's important.
Exactly.
So yeah, it didn't look like there was actually any protection that he could get there, and it's not like a lot of the. I don't quite know. Maybe slip out the back is good enough when you're reanimating a massive thing. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure. A lot of those cheap blue protection cards are probably worth a slot in this type of deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mind just cost 1.
So it's essentially gone to, well, let's just find the game plan for what happens next if Murktide gets dealt with.
Although you've got a white and a black up now, like reasonably, if you had a removal spell for the Murktide, it probably wouldn't have already hit you for 8. So he's got to be thinking it's top of library or bust for you now.
I suspect so.
Yeah. Oh, we are gonna reanimate the troll again. So just have this. This isn't quite a lethal threat, is it? The troll. It's not big enough 6, but it's still scary. So in a good spot.
Yeah, I'm weirdly thinking if I do top removal, then I've been given an opportunity to win this because the life total drop there from a second reanimate, but we didn't find it.
Yeah.
So we just go to game 2. Ed doing exactly what Ed wants to do.
I mean, I think if you ask him, he'd pick something better than a troll to start with. But
so check out this hand.
What's this? This is a land.
Shadowy Backstreet, and I've got Reanimate and Path to Exile, essentially. And I think there
Okay.
might have been a fatal push there as well. So it's like there's only one land, but I've got spells that can do the dirty on Ed, right?
Yeah, this is definitely one where you've kept a hand to play the match. You know, you
Yes,
wouldn't if you just played against a
100%.
generic mid-range or control deck or something. This is send this right back.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it's a surveil land helps a ton as well.
Yeah, exactly.
If it weren't a surveil land, I'd probably still keep it and just hope to draw those lands. But
As long as it casts, you know, the reanimate and the path, you want
Yep.
that white-black. I suspect. Is the deck mostly white-black with a bit of red, or is it pretty evenly spread?
it's actually mostly a Boros deck with black.
Makes sense, I suppose.
So it's more focused on that getting aggressive.
Yeah, just as aggro as you can be while still being 3 colors, I suppose.
Yeah,
this
that's
looks
it.
more to 5 though, which is unfortunate for Red's point
Yeah.
of view. Yeah, that's not great, especially if you've got quite a mode 5 punishes you less for keeping a 1-lander if you don't get there. Oh, that's a land though. That's
It
nice.
is. Yep. Like that's not
But
going in
also,
the bin.
yeah, it's going to be rough for Red if your hand, which it is all full of specifically chosen, you know, really good answers for this situational matchup.
Yeah.
Red source as well is nice too. So yeah, that was actually pretty much the perfect.
Yeah, it came together.
Yep. So I suppose the question now is, at what point do you try and turn the accelerator up, as it were?
Well, so with Ed Mulligan to 5, I think in my head I probably should be going, and trying to go fast.
Yeah.
Rather than just reacting to what he's doing. But what Ed does, he does extremely well with very few cards and with very little mana. So there's an element of, do I just be a little bit careful in the early turns to make sure nothing degenerate's going to happen, and then switch? Those are the things that are going through my head, and I don't know if they're right or wrong, and to what extent, but I'm just giving you an insight to what the heck goes on in my brain.
I feel like it takes more than 2 sentences to get an insight into what goes on in your brain. But thank you for what we've got so far. Yeah, it's an interesting challenge, right? The default, I think, should be for players, especially when they're playing at least a somewhat aggressive. Oh, Force is nice. Somewhat aggressive deck. It's not nice. I'm sorry. That if your opponent has mulligans, you need to pressure them so that they do not get time, especially if they are playing blue cards and have some ability to dig out of that mulligan.
Yep.
Like we know Ed's not on like pure card advantage stuff like Treasure Cruise or Dig Through Time, or definitely not Recall based on the point spread, obviously. But having access to blue, you can see a Psychic Fog there. If that gets down, you know you can answer it. You know you have the fatal push in your hand. But if that's to get down and you were like, oh, I can't deal with this, it's just going to dig out of the trouble. So you want to get him dead before that happens.
See, there is a reanimate there as well.
Yeah, but this does look like no second land and a brainstorm lock, which is pretty bad.
Oh yeah, nasty.
A lot of reanimate spells, though, from what I can see. There's a reanimate. I think that's a stitch together. So, you know, if he was to get time to get there, which we've just discussed, you really don't want to let him do. You never know. But this does look like a rough one. You know you're not drawing it for 2 more lands. There's not any pressure, and there's a lot of 2-drops in that hand.
Which, if you're good at your maths, you'll know means I didn't draw a land. Nor do I have 2 lands on top of my board.
Everyone loves doing brainstorm lock. It's the best feeling in the world.
And
Oh, you just going to rip all the lands you need.
I've given you a nice thumbs up because I knew there was going to be some sarcastic comment.
Am I so predictable? Outrageous. Oh, this is a nice bit of value. Like the first bit of pressure you've got, you tapped out for it. No, you know you're not getting a land in the next 2 cards, so the next draw doesn't matter, and this one can get rid of the other card that you do not want in any way, shape, or form. That's really nice.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's good play from Ed. Trying to do what he can with this situation he's been dealt. It just feels like Ed's playing on a reader and you're playing in real life, so that must be why you've got lands and he doesn't.
Oh, is that right? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's channeling the spirit somehow.
I was pretty upset about losing that innocence there, because
Yeah, that seems like a great way for you to really pull ahead.
yeah, for sure.
The enduring cycle has been really interesting. Obviously, not all of them see play. This year I get misstepped. Yeah, makes total sense. But I was definitely when I first saw them, been like, yeah, sure, whatever, cool. There's a fun set of rares that you can play if you want to. But they've actually genuinely been pretty strong. You know, the blue one sees some play in some tempo-y, in some of the blue-based tempo decks. I've seen that white one show up in quite a lot of places now, in different styles of deck as well. You're playing it here. Henry plays it in his token control deck as well. Like there's genuine play in that one. Like the other ones maybe aren't quite so great. I'm not good. The red one gives haste. I haven't seen that in any mono red decks. It's probably a bit expensive.
Yeah.
But it's still like I did write those enduring cards off, and at least a couple of them. And the black one, arguably, if you're playing some kind of life gain combo with Veto and the champion has got play too. So, and it is. I always find that really interesting because I remember when I first put Psychic Frog in the deck, I was like, "Oh, this card's cool. I like it. I'm going to give this a go. It's probably not good enough."
In fact, I remember hearing you say that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm just like, oh no, it is.
This card is just busted.
Yep. Is this collective brutality?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Guarding a Psychic Frog, which you're not going to cast anytime soon, because you've not drawn the land again. And then there's still a reanimating hand to get back. This is like, this is
He's
for me
doing
for
well.
wanting your, but it's what you have to do, I think, in this situation, right?
I was really frustrated with myself for casting the reanimate before the skull clamp, and I'm not to say that Ed would have mental misstepped my skull clamp, but he might have done.
Yeah.
I mean,
and this is rough because
AMO.
now he knows that. Yeah, there's AMO again, just being a pain. Yeah, now he knows that this, even if he does reanimate this frog, which clearly I think was his plan, what he's actually reanimating is a land, which again isn't terrible when you're stuck on one land.
He
But
made
it's not
that
what you
comment.
wanted.
It's like, I'm not taking the push. I'm not taking the path. I'm taking the push. I want that land, please.
Yeah. Just did a bit of. Yeah. Okay, we're just doing a bit of maths to figure all that out. Europe's 90. Yeah, it's all good. So it's still the right play, I think, based on the information he's got. He's doing the best that he can with a really limited amount of resources, and has picked through, like you said, you kept path, you kept push, you kept reanimate. He's kind of picked through what you've got. Like if he just had a bit more luck off the top of his library, could definitely still be in this, but it just hasn't worked. But he's also like a long way from dead. Like what you're going to be down to one card that you can't currently cast, right? Once you resolve this path.
Yeah, I've got AMO and range reveals.
Oh, okay, 2 cards. Apologies.
But neither of them can I cast. So yeah, I decided not to path the frog here because I think it's just wrong. I think I should just do it.
Yeah, I think you're pretty confident you would do it. I don't even think if you draw the land, you're going to cast the Ranger Captain or.
That's exactly.
Else it is. So yeah, I'd say that's probably true. You know, this frog needs to die, and it's not like you're saving anything from Ed's point of view. Like maybe you wait until his upkeep to path, but.
Well, yeah, that's true.
That's about the only thing I can think of which would make a difference. And I could see that more if you knew he had 2 drops in hand, or no, not that Shallow Grave does a lot on this board state.
Oh, I hope I do that now. If I path in my turn, it's just a mistake.
Yeah, path in upkeep it's become more interesting because path doesn't get isn't quite the auto include that it used to be. Yeah, things like March.
I don't like it. I really don't like it.
Yeah, so I've had this chat a fair bit. Like Jethro cut it from Abzam Delirium. Because he doesn't like giving the land away, and I'm umming and ahhing. Like I run Fatal Push and Esper Control, and I'm not sure if that should be a path to exile because exile actually matters quite a lot. But I don't want to give people lands. Oh, but you don't do it. You don't wait for the upkeep.
Oh, have I done it at the wrong time?
Well, Ed's not untapped, so we're just assuming that the board state is correct based on Ed's having a tap land.
Yeah, we're gonna just put that as a mistake, and a fairly big one as well.
I mean, how many times before in your life have you cast Path to Exile?
I think that might be the first time.
There we go. So it's those things that don't necessarily, even if you know Magic well and how the rules interact, and you know that you should kind of minimize and optimize benefits for yourself.
It's like I recognised it then while we were watching it, but I've got so many things going through my head as well when I'm trying to learn this new thing, this new deck.
Yes.
As many excuses as I can give myself, but it's still wrong, and
Yeah.
I'm learning.
That's the point of trying out new things. That's what Henry was saying when he was doing his new combo deck.
Exactly.
You've got to try. I'm in the middle of building a new one myself, and it's just like I'm playing a bunch of cards that I never would have played before, but it's fun because I've not played them. And try something different.
I mean, I've mentioned it before on camera or on commentary that what part of the reason why I'm really enjoying Canadian Highlander is not just because the format's fun, but because it is something completely new, completely different from Limited, and something that I'm not very good at. So there's a real learning curve.
I mean, that's relative. I mean, like you've not very good at. There's a lot you can do at this format that you can do if you're good at Magic, and you're like you've played Limited a lot. You have good records. You are good at playing Limited, so that translates into whole kinds of deck construction. So like I don't think it's like you come into this and you're like, oh, Canlander, I don't know what I'm doing, which is shown by the records. You've not been going like 1-3 every week. Have you? You've been getting positive records. But it's when you start getting to the finer margins that when you are consistently 3-1ing and 4-0ing, or like consistently just finding that what is my line in this matchup? How do I stop Jay doing this silly thing that I hadn't accounted for because Jay obviously puts silly things in their deck? Or how do I play around this, whatever counter spell I'm trying to predict my opponents on because of different situations? Those are the things that take time to perfect.
It's almost like you could almost state it like abusing the rules of Magic. It's finding the exact window when you can eke that extra little bit of advantage in every situation.
Yeah, trying to make the most out of your cards. And it's funny, you can see quite a lot, like it does help when players stick to the same deck and they know it really well. Because then they feel better. Dunk's just moved back to Jund after trying check pile for a while and feels much more confident in how he's playing the deck already. And is doing much better, even though you could probably argue check pile on its own stands as a more powerful deck than just a regular kind of Jund mid-range list. So like, and pretty consistently, Ember plays their aggressive decks pretty consistently, and she's consistent at getting them to perform well. Same looking at Georgian Academy, although this is an obnoxious card, so I'm not giving any credit here. But same, like George has gradually gone from consistently getting 2-2s to being 3-1s and 4-0s pretty regularly now with Academy because he's played it so much and he's really good at it. And that's even with the meta having to shift because we know George is playing Academy a lot, so we have to make some decisions.
The card that's coming in for Emma is a Braid, by the way.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it isn't that it does help with that. So the more time you can spend on this, the better. And it's nice that you already feel like you've got some changes and tweaks you can make. Because you've identified that maybe AMO is more of a medium red or medium boss card than the aggressive lines you want to take, more of a mid-range card. Whereas obviously you spent a long time on your blacklist not really changing anything because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to play a bunch of black cards that cost one mana and have 2 power.
Well, so I think when I built Mono Black, it was very much like I had a very specific plan in mind, and it was to attack the combo and the control decks. Because there were too many wins for those decks. So I wanted to come into the meta with something different that was attacking the better performing decks. And I think that's where my knowledge of Magic has come in is with deck building to try to help out with what's gonna be good against what. So this new one, I'm still trying to figure out where it's gonna fit and how I want to go under people and what reactive spells I want to play. Because in that sense, I suppose it is a bit more mid-rangey than a pure aggro deck.
Yeah.
But
you're putting quite a lot of pressure on here.
We've just done enough disgusting things that I think Ed's had enough.
If you just follow up Fourth Earlingus with a Ragavan and Guide of Souls, that's pretty powerful.
So interestingly, a couple of times I cast this Ranger of Eos in the tournament, and I always got Guide of Souls and Ragavan. Ragavan almost always was because I was going to be dashing Ragavan so I could get it back to hand to save it for next time. But I think looking at it, looking at the list and thinking about it a little bit more, maybe I should just be getting Guided Souls and Ocelot Pride pretty much every time. That combo
They
is
are a pretty good
disgusting.
1-2 punch, yeah. Especially if you have tokened up a bit and are pretty close to ascending already.
Mm.
And which you weren't. I don't think you had ascended there, but you weren't far off. There was 2 4th tokens, there was 4 lands, I think. So it was a good amount of things kicking around. It wouldn't have taken you that far to get there.
Yeah. I really liked the decision against the against Helena's blue-white control, because that's just a list that's got a ton of board wipes and a ton of card draw with counter spells. So I was okay with Ragavan in that situation, but yeah, in that one maybe Ocelot Pride's one that I need to be considering a little bit more.
Were you aggressive enough to get under? Because if I suppose if you give Helena enough time, she'll overtake you. I would have thought.
It was very close, but I did manage to get there.
Fetch for a Undercity Sewers. It's right here.
I think it was just like I'd seen enough rats that I then was able to just deploy a couple of threats. In one game, I think I hit with a Guide of Souls that didn't get any energy because everything else was countered. I just hit for one
mana,
7 turns in a row. Yeah.
There's a reasonable amount of pressure here, though, because
yeah, this is a nice start.
Yeah, this is a spooky card. That we just kind of got another Blood Artist snuck onto us, and they just keep seeming to just every now and then. Oh, here's another Blood Artist. Here's another Blood Artist, and eventually it's just going to be so many Blood Artists that servo will die and Ed'll lose 6 life or something. I'm sure. Although this one at least has power. Blood Artist doesn't have any power, so I suppose.
Yeah.
Probably...
So I've not. This is the only Blood Artist effect that I have, I believe, and it's really there because it's 2 mana for like two creatures, but then can get that little bit of damage over the line at the end. Maybe this is a card that doesn't stick in for the duration of the deck's evolution, but I like it for now.
Yeah, there's an interesting tension because Mardu often, a lot of the archetypes that see a lot of play in Mardu are they have different angles, but they swim around the same kind of cards, So you've got like your tokens horde vibe. There's Mardu initiative decks that are really scary and really powerful. There's Mardu pyromancer decks, Mardu aristocrat decks, and like they all want fairly low to the ground aggressive curve of creatures.
Yep.
And then there's like 15 odd cards sitting around them that just kind of tweak based on what you're going to do. You're probably not playing Mayhem Devil, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
But the Aristocrats one definitely is.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas things like I'm gonna brief look at your list, but like Arabella and Delny and stuff like that. Yep. Arabella might get into some of the other ones, I suppose. Jacked Rabbit is a good example, I suppose. But like those types of cards aren't going to see play in a lot of the other decks. But then you've not got the adventurers by what I can see. I've got White Plume.
I do. So my top end here for this deck is the 3/4 mana monarchy and initiative creatures. So that's right, the plan for me building the deck is actually it's aggro until we get to 4 mana, and then we kind of switch to we've done a load of damage, now let's get the initiative and hope to get that 5 damage through.
Yeah.
And there's the monarchy as well. We've got Queen Marchesa and a couple of the monarchy cards. Palace Jailer.
Nice. Queen Marchesa is a really cool one. I've got it in my 5-color humans deck. It's a great one. So much value. But you've got some fun, like spicy ones in here. Toby, BC Befriender, and Squee and Seer Slicer Goblin. Just some cool little cards.
I tell you what, Squee was incredible against Azorius control.
Yes, I can believe that. Basically, because do you cast it? You do at least cast it. So
yeah,
it can be counted.
Yeah, but it just comes back again. So yeah,
this is the same as game 1. I've just
come
back
to the game. We've got
about your deck the whole time.
Well, I do. I mean, there's quite a lot of removal in here as well. I guess Mardu Colours does have very efficient removal.
Yeah.
Feeling really good about including Bitter Triumph over the one that destroys something with mana value 3 or less and can't be countered.
Long Goodbye.
That one, yep.
I would include Bitter Triumph over Long Goodbye 9 times out of 10.
Okay.
I think, unless I had a very control heavy meta. I think it's just more.
The thing is, against most like in most matchups,
It's still the
it's
same as if
it's almost better to have the killer mana value 3 or less, and not being able to counter it, and not being able to counter it. But in this specific matchup, that card would be pretty poor.
But I also think you have to bear in mind the other removal suite you have, right? So you've got swords, path,
Yep.
snuff out, fatal push. You can deal with cheap things.
Yep.
And because you're an aggressive deck, you're also not so scared about the planeswalker element. You still are. Like planeswalkers are scary card types, but you can attack them much better than a control deck who's trying to find out what their removal suite should be. So there is, and you're also less bothered about the life loss because you are usually being more aggressive than the other opponent. So there's lots of decision points that go into that, whether I want to play longer buy over Bitter Triumph. And I think like your deck definitely likes Bitter Triumph, and I would probably argue the average one likes it more as well, but certainly not all of them. If you're a bit slower, if maybe you don't have access to white, you don't have swords, you don't have path, you don't have march and prismatic ending, you don't have those cheaper, more efficient removal spells. You're like, actually, maybe I just want both of these types of decks. So there is that really interesting tension. Get Lost is a good example as well. So there's interesting like plays in terms of how you construct the decks versus what you're playing against. Yes, you are 100% right, it's good here, but I would imagine Bitter Triumph is, if you're playing my Esper control deck, you'd probably want Long Goodbye.
Right.
But the flip side of that is I probably am not going to spend a counter spell on one of your removal pieces anyway, because you know how I play a control deck, right? So there's all kinds of tensions there back and forth.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I think Bitter Triumph is a stronger card in and of itself. But the troll's back.
Nothing
Again.
Yeah, we've got a necromancy, which I had to take about 5 minutes to read.
Yes. You can always tell when a card is that old.
There's so many words on it, and it does so little.
Yeah. It basically says reanimate, but if you kill the enchantment, I don't reanimate anymore.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that this is a Karlov Mana Commander printing there. I cannot believe we're in 2024 at that stage, and no one has found a better way to word that. Ubiet found its way. We can find it with necromancy as well, I believe.
Give it a keyword or something.
Yeah.
Help us out.
This is a pretty sus attack, so I definitely see why Ed is taking one here. I'm interested to know why you would do this.
I'm looking forward to showing you.
Well, that doesn't explain it at all. That's just a shadow summon.
What do you mean?
That's an interesting include. I don't think I've ever seen that played in Canlander before. I suppose the flying is relevant in a world full of initiatives. And
yes, because I'm playing. I've not got that many just 2 mana make two guys.
Now I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I do have quite a few initiative and monarch stuff, so these dudes can just go and get it, and I think that's important for me.
This is one of those times when you just love a Terminus off the top as the player playing against you. Even after resolving reanimate spells twice. It's like, no, we don't need this.
Yeah. See you later.
Right.
Tuck them all away.
Yeah, but not available to a Dimir player. And I wouldn't. I don't wonder if Ed might be on maybe Toxic Deluge, possibly. What have we got sorceries wise? I can't see a Toxic Deluge.
It doesn't look like
no Wrath. Which is an interesting one. Again, I am aware that I'm more defensive and cautious than a lot of Magic players.
Oh, you love a board wipe.
I do love a board wipe.
Grief has just hit my Adeline over the opposition.
Which is very
agent.
good for Ed.
Yes. Very upsetting.
This is an interesting situation because this Grief is a bad blocker.
Mm-hmm.
Based on how wide you're going. Like it doesn't. A Solitude. Again, I'm too used to Esper. I see all these blue-black cards. I'm like, well, obviously the white ones are coming. But those types of cards would be super powerful here. Even just on the black ones. Black cards have lifelink. Oh, that is a very good turn. Was it? Because this game felt close with you maybe a little bit ahead, and that swing is huge.
It's massive. If anybody wanted evidence to show how good Witch Enchanter is. So I think this is a mistake. I think I should be just swinging with everything here.
I would agree. Yeah, I think
I'd got it into my head that troll was scary. There is a card that gives reanimate something and gives it haste, right?
Yes, he revealed it in the last game. Shadowgrave.
I think I'm just playing more cautious considering how far ahead I feel like I am. But
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake.
I went down 2 and then 2.
Witch Enchanters are really nice included. I think it's no secret that double face cards are good. But even these uncommon and common ones, especially the ones that enter untapped. But we've seen, mystical, no, drowned, drenched, whatever it is, the blue-black one that shoots up instant sorcery,
Yeah.
getting play, mostly because it can also be a tap land. But
Is it
this
waterlogged
one's obviously good.
teachings? Is it?
That's it. Yeah, that's the one. But even like the witch, we know Sink into Stupors has its role to play. We've seen the red one that is the non-blocking one kind of show up in tempo decks as well. Like that extra bit of it can just be a land feels so good when you're trying to make the most out of all of your bits and pieces of mana and efficiency.
Yeah.
Same with the 1 mana land cycles, right? There's an interesting tension between those types of cards where this is kind of a land and kind of a creature, and so is the cycler. And if you want to reanimate a deck with reanimates in, maybe you want more of the cyclers than you do the flip ones. But if you're, if you want that easier consistency and cheaper mana base, then maybe actually the flip cards are better. There's those types of really interesting decisions are things that I like. I imagine you're playing a couple of the land cyclers as well in this one.
What am I playing?
I don't see a troll in your deck
I don't
list.
think I am.
Okay. Which does kind of line up with you not wanting to waste 1 mana finding a land, which is why this type of this line is better.
It also kind of I don't know. I don't know whether it suggests that reanimate shouldn't be in the list if I'm not doing that kind of thing.
I mean, that's it's potential. Like I almost have a binary decision point where if I have a black deck that is playing reanimate, it automatically gets a troll.
Got you.
And that's not necessarily correct. It's just how I shortcut decision making when I'm the type of person who has like 12 decks built at any given time and doesn't necessarily spend all the energy optimizing all of them in a way that someone might if they had 1 or 2.
It's
decks.
almost like taking some shortcuts in your decision makings.
Yes.
That kind of thing. We've got an Imperial Seal here from Ed, and he's just gone to get a Sheoldred, I think we saw.
That's fine. It doesn't seem great. Because what are you going to be on after this attack?
I think it's just not good enough, though.
Right, okay. I have not done the maths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you block 1 more thing. Yeah, so a shoulder is not good enough. You need somehow the 1 card in Ed's hand also needs to be an island and a treasure cruise to go along with the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I've ended up cutting shouldered from some decks because although it's obviously very good, if you want it for the life gain, sometimes you just need something with lifelink.
So I'm actually looking through Ed's list. I can't see anything that would have with lifelink that could be cast with 4 mana.
Right.
Oh no, the correct call would have been Metamorphosis Fanatic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, put it on top.
Yeah, that's the better choice.
Pull back. There's a grief in that hand as well, like in a bin or a troll. That would have been nuts.
I think that's like game changing if Metamorphosis Fanatic could have been chosen there.
Yeah, 2 large lifelinkers here, one of which has the 3 attacks thing would really put you under pressure.
Yeah.
Oh, Mother of Rune's getting aggressive. You love to see it.
Yeah. Had to.
Yeah. This is what happens when you don't tidy up your room. Mom just stops. No, never mind.
Yeah, I can see where you were going. But...
Yeah.
Yeah, we got there. Interesting. Like wasn't playing it particularly aggressive. It didn't look like an aggro deck at all there. But we did get across the line. Some unlucky mulligans from Ed, but that was fun. Hope to see the deck a little bit more in the near future.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much for joining. Catch you next time.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.